that one opportunity. Okay, so it's not bad to be a little bit nervous, and it's definitely not bad to be prepared. Okay, if you want to work for someplace, you got to put your best foot forward. You got to be ready. I mean, I hate to say it, I would wake up on interview day, no matter what it was. I mean, I'd be a little anxious. I'd maybe sometimes get up early, start going through notes, start looking at my resume, start being able to think about particularly good situations that I could talk about that would bring to light things that would be important. Okay. You want to have it in the front of your head, things that you definitely want to bring up. Okay. Because, I mean, every single one of you, like I said, definitely has the ability to do well. Okay, but it's just a matter of throwing out there the information that is going to really get their attention. Okay, now you guys have definitely an advantage where we've got these questions that Bryson has given us. Okay, I mean, we spent some time on them yesterday, and I think all in all, you guys know what to do with them. Okay, but again, we don't know 100% that these questions are going to be the ones. I would love to be able to say with 100% certainty that that would be the case. However, you don't want to ever take anything for granted. So what we're going to be doing today is looking at potential questions that might come up, ones that are more common in most interview settings of a professional nature. Okay, and I'm not saying of a professional nature as if it's for a really super high ranking type individual. I'm talking just normal, boring types of interviews for a lot of times things that you'll be doing that just have an interview setting where they're really just it's just a basic interview. Maybe it's something after college, maybe it's something still in high school. I mean, as long as it's the employer is generally asking you something other than can you show up? Do you have a high school diploma? You're hired. Okay. Pretty much every interview beyond just that. Can you fog a mirror? If I put a mirror under your nose, are you going to fog it? Do you have a pulse? Okay, you're hired. Pretty much interviews beyond those types of jobs are going to be ones that are going to go the route that we're going to talk today. Okay, and these questions that are going to be asked are the types of questions that are very in fashion for employers to be asking. These are known as questions that are found in behavioral interviews. Okay, behavioral interviews. And basically, what they're doing is they're asking you questions that are going to help them figure out what is your behavior going to be like in a certain situation. Okay, most of the behavioral interview questions, I will say, revolve around things, and I should have had this pulled up, but most behavioral interview questions revolve around things. Wake up. Here we go. Most behavioral interview questions revolve around things like problem solving, working with groups of individuals or teams, oftentimes talking and trying to figure out how people that they're going to think about hiring deal with failure. Okay, think about that one for a second. How individuals deal with being put in leadership types of positions. And then finally, how do individuals deal with stress, personal stress in the workplace? Okay, how are you going to handle if you've got a bunch of things to do? How are you going to react? Are you going to fold, or are you going to be able to have a halfway logical way to be able to do that? Okay, now, questions of these behavioral interview ones, they're not going to be yes no type ones. They're not going to be ones that generally you have in advance. Okay, but they are going to ask you questions such as, tell me about a time where you had to deal with, I don't know, a difficult situation with a coworker. Okay, think about that. Tell me about a time. Okay, it's the sort of question that's definitely going to, you're going to be talking about yourself. Okay, and again, it's going to be different for everybody. There's no right answer. Okay, but what I'm going to tell you about today is just a little bit of a framework that might help you answer a question like that, maybe a little bit better than the average person. Okay. Okay, so we've got an acronym right here, S.T.A.R. Okay, it's an organizer. Okay, it's real simple. Basically, it's helping you tell a story, and hopefully a story with a happy ending. Okay, what you've got right here is you're going to be talking about a situation, okay, a task or a role that you might have had in that situation, okay, an action that you took in that situation, and then the role, pardon me, the result that came about. Okay, it's a story. Example is the question I just threw out there. Tell me about a question, or tell me about a time where you had to deal with a difficult coworker. Okay. Oh, let's see. Okay. So anyway, basically, think about it to yourselves. Have you ever had to deal with somebody in a difficult situation? Almost always, the answer is yes. Okay, they're not throwing out questions to you that are going to be ones that are unique. No, everybody's had a difficult type of situation they've had to deal with a coworker. Sure. Okay, so you want to be able to not hopefully throw out, oh yeah, we got into a fist fight, and oh yeah, I took that person down. No, you don't probably want to bring up that instance. Hopefully, that's not an instance that comes about. Hopefully, one that might perhaps showcase that you are able to deal with that difficult employee in a halfway decent way. Okay, so give me an example. So who's got an example I can use? Okay, you can give me yours. Go ahead.
So back when I used to work in the concession stand for Bluegrass, there was one time when I came into work and lifeboats filled squirt guns with slushy mix, and we were battling it out in the concession stand area. And after it was just all sticky and all that stuff, and I got so mad because I have to clean that thing top to bottom before I go home. And I just went to my boss and I just made him clean it up for the hour it took.
Okay, so again, he talks about the situation. Okay, and maybe so here's what's going on. Okay, here's my place in the situation. Okay, his task or his role. Okay, he works in this particular area that is being trashed. Okay. Probably he could have started yelling at his coworkers and getting on their case, okay? But maybe they would have, maybe they wouldn't have listened, who knows, okay? Bubbles it up to his boss, turns it over to the boss, and the boss ultimately gets it fixed, okay? Just a real basic kind of, he's talked through it really quickly. Now, the thing that a lot of times employers would find out from asking a question like that, okay, it might give them some insight into how that person would react if there was something difficult in the actual new place of employment. It might also give them an idea if they were going to try to handle it themselves, if they were going to talk to their supervisor. I mean, it might give them some ideas on how they would, I mean, are they the sort of person that's going to take things into their own hands, which could be good, or in some cases, maybe it's not good. Okay, it gives them a little bit more to be thinking about. And then ultimately, I mean, did it turn out in some way, shape, or form good? I mean, does it tell us after the case or after the fact that this guy gets done talking to us about the situation? I mean, does it tell us that he's fairly level-headed? Okay. Again, it's just a quick story that you're trying to tell and being able to touch on things. Again, as I said, when any of you started to talk the other day about personal examples, that always gets the attention of the person that you're talking to. Okay? I mean, he could have talked very generally about what it was. Instead, he tells a story. I can picture, I don't know, I'm trying to think to myself, I wonder what flavor of slushy this was. Was it cherry? Was it the blue stuff? Who knows what it was? But I mean, I'm thinking it's halfway, thinking about things, okay? Okay, Isaac, give me
So
yours.
because I've never had a coworker, I'm going to talk about a project partner.
Okay.
So I've had my fair share of project partners that are very unfavorable, to be frank. So one time I had a special needs partner, and he was on his Kindle the entire time doing the project. So what I did was we did a project on dinosaurs, and he was very interested in that. So I promised him if he spends this amount of time working, he can have 5 to 10 minutes playing on his Kindle, and then we continue on again, go back and forth, and then eventually we got the task done, and we got a B+.
Okay, so I mean, again, telling a story, talking about what you were doing. One of my associates, hopefully they've not gotten in some sort of an accident at their internships or something. Anyway, let's see. But again, you can think of the situation or what's going on, okay, what Isaac's role in it was, the challenge that was perhaps being dealt with, okay, what he was doing to overcome that challenge, came up with a creative type of solution, and then the end result was something that was positive. Things got done, okay? Again, these are questions that I will say, these are the types of things that oftentimes get asked. Now, is St. Elizabeth going to switch to something like this? I don't know. You just never know, okay? But oftentimes, if you are following this S.T.A.R organizer, I mean, I hate to say it, oftentimes companies that use this are oftentimes having boxes, I hate to say it, that are trying to figure out, did you use this particular S.T.A.R method, and did you tell the story correctly? Okay. Now, again, you can use the S.T.A.R method and you can give totally horrible answers. Okay. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, you could probably both ways see how you would have said something different, and you would have used some sort of a S.T.A.R organizer like that, and then maybe it turned, I don't know, you made some sort of bad decision along the way in their mind. I mean, maybe you weren't supposed to do, I mean, maybe it was a horrible thing that he was able to use his Kindle, and you, again, again. But generally, you're able to use this sort of method to, again, be able to try and, I mean, just showcase various things. Again, the types of questions with difficult people, we all know for a fact of the matter that difficult people are a fact of life, okay? You're gonna deal with them, okay? Very rarely do you not have to work with people in the workplace, okay? So you're gonna get stuck working with people. They wanna know, how are you going to deal with difficult situations, okay? Are you going to be able to step up and do something such as yourself, come up with a creative type of solution such as yourself. I mean, again, there's oftentimes not a right or a wrong answer. They just want to hear about how you think and how you do. Okay, and also talking and relaying this situation, okay, or this thing that happened in your life. Okay, um, almost all questions in interviews anymore are like this. Okay, where they're forcing you to be doing all the talking. There's no right, no wrong answer. Well, there always is, but again, you're oftentimes doing the talking. Okay, I don't know. I mean, does that seem somewhat clear what we're talking about here? Again, this whole S.T.A.R thing. I mean, maybe you just see it as commonsensical. Hey, that's just how I'd talk. I'd talk through everything. But I want you to be thinking of, if you do get something that's not on this list that we've gone through previously, I mean, what am I going to do with it? Okay. And again, some of the time, some of the answers, especially some of the ones that we have in the historical questions, where I wanted you to be really detailed. Okay. I don't know if you realize that if you think back in retrospect, a lot of times I was trying to see if you could use this type of an organizer. You talk about the situation, you talk about what you do in that particular situation, an action that you took, and then to tie it up with a pretty bow at the end, the results. And of course, the results are always positive. Okay, always positive. You don't, obviously, I mean, you could obviously bring up situations. How do you deal with a difficult person and bring up something where there's a horrible bad ending to it? Don't. Don't. Okay? So let's take a look at a couple. Okay, I'll ask you a question right now. Okay? Mr. Zacchaeus, tell me about a time that you took initiative on a project.
Well, well, I work on a vex. This was sort of last year.
Okay.
Our team had basically fallen apart after freshman year. A couple people left to do other things. So
They're horrible.
yeah.
Horrible.
So I was now the senior member on the team because someone above me had left and the other person in my grade level had left. So I was now the senior member of the team. So I had to make sure everyone that was still on the team was doing their thing. And so I took that initiative. I helped lay us out. I structured our time and our schedule, and through that we were able to get our robot done and accomplished well in advance of our first robotics competition.
Boom. Okay. Again, if you had ever had to talk through that situation specifically, it would have been the front end, the description of it. It might have been a little tighter, a little more compact. But I mean, that was a good example. Okay. What sort of things could an employer figure out on how he dealt with that? What sort of things could they figure out from hearing that answer? What would they have heard?
That he can get the job done.
He can get the job done. Time management. I mean, maybe there's definitely some leadership involved with that. Okay. You're going to find that as we go through some of these things, a lot of these things, and if you guys have to book out, that's perfectly fine, but you're going to find that example right there, because, I mean, we just talked about several things right there that it showcased. I mean, you can use a lot of the same examples, recycle them a little bit, and be able to use them for this and for that. Araceli, let me ask you a question. Okay. I don't know. how do you approach problems that you encounter? Give me an example. Okay. Okay. I loved everything that she was talking about right there. I think if you would have all of a sudden injected like a real life type of situation, okay, because it just makes it easier for you guys to be able to talk about, I mean, this is a situation that I have lived. I mean, if that was something on, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have that, and then you could say, well, I was helping figure out this and this. Okay, it definitely shows a question like that, the logic that someone uses when they encounter a problem. Okay, you probably wouldn't want somebody giving an answer of, well, I just tackle the first and the biggest thing that comes right at me, and I just go as hard as I can, and I just keep on going and going and going, and I just follow that one all the way to the end. It's probably not realistic that you would be able to tackle just one thing and only one thing. You're probably hoped to maybe look at some other things along the way. But again, I think examples, okay, help you to tell the story, okay, because you've been involved with having to encounter problems and things like that. Again, it's just something that I hate to say it. It's just something that might show up. Okay, talk about the situation. You talk about your role in it. You talk about the actions that you took, and then if you have that problem, I mean, tie it up with a nice, pretty bow at the end. And as a result of me delegating all of this out to various people, we were able to accomplish the goal. Okay? Yeah, I mean, you're leaving the interviewer with a good taste in their mouth. Let's see, let me ask this one. Isaac, are you better at working with a team or are you better working on your own? Okay, before he answers. This is one, he's going to make a decision. I'm going to work on my own or I'm going to work on a team. What do you prefer? Or is this one of these ones where you tread lightly and tiptoe down the line and put a little bit over here, a little bit over here, be diplomatic about it? Go, Isaac.
I find that I work good in both positions.
Okay.
Like, for example, when I'm in a group, oftentimes I will divide the work amongst the people so we can get the best result as fast as possible.
Okay.
And in the end, I usually succeed in that matter. But when I'm on my own, I usually power through my work and get it done as fast as possible, as good as possible. I always analyze every situation. I make sure that I never miss a beat, and in the end, I usually do pretty well.
Okay. I mean, the only thing that he could have probably done better, I mean, this is kind of I don't want to say it's a gotcha type of question, but this is a very common question that an employer would ask you. They want to know how a person is wired. I mean, are they going to be somebody that I can have work on their own? Are they going to be somebody that really is going to thrive in a team-making environment? I mean, it's one of these questions that you kind of have to say, I'm a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Or if you do preference one, say that you can definitely do the other. But also at the same time, just like I told Araceli, I mean, a little bit of an example to be able to show that result that you get done. Okay? And that's really the only line of improvement. Again, these are situations that you've encountered. These are situations that you should be, get on out of here. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was going to say, I can mention for the fact that I do well on my own, the fact that I've been paired with a lot of dead weight in my projects.
Okay, say it nicely.
I know, like.
Yep, got you. No. I want to say that point blank. Never talk badly about anybody. Yeah, because they're always thinking,
I've been paired with a lot of deviant characters.
No, not even deviant. I just be clear. If you guys use words, I mean, deviant. I mean, if you look up in the dictionary of should we look up what deviant means in the dictionary? Okay, I had a young man yesterday. He wanted to use the word headstrong. Okay? Headstrong is oftentimes one of these things that has a meaning of very bullheaded, doesn't like to cooperate. But yet he was throwing down that I'm a headstrong individual. Not a
Deviant means
Okay.
departing from usual or accepted standards.
And then the second part of that, especially in social or sexual behavior.
Yeah, but it could be either or.
Of course it could, but let's try to stay away from that. Okay. But again, just yeah, I mean, again, just be prepared. You're talking through things. Examples always help. I mean, they help you personally organize and tell the story. Again, knowing that you're going to try to have at the end the happy ending. Okay, where you're the shining star, and because of all the actions that you took, you get to take credit for it. I mean, it seems kind of silly that employers want to ask questions like this, but again, it gives them a little bit of insight into how you think, some of the experiences you've had. Can you even sometimes just organize an answer so it sounds halfway good, even if I ask you tell me about a time that you failed? Okay, who has to bail right now? You do? Okay, very good. Okay, so let's see. Araceli. Guys, yeah, I mean, I can easily be on. Why don't you? I'll publish something, and you can join me if you want. Tomorrow, I'll have some online times if you want to. Again, this is all totally optional. I appreciate you guys coming to see it. I try to pass on things that I hope can be worthwhile to you. So, again, it'll be optional tomorrow. Okay, but I'll have it out there. Just be looking for it if you want it. Okay. So, Araceli, you get a horrible question here. Araceli, describe a time when you disagreed with a team member.
I love that.
Okay, how did you resolve the problem?
Is it kind of like when someone wants to do something but you don't want to do it?
Exactly.
Okay, so, it was like in academies we were doing a group project. It was like about like the blood, something like that was.
Mhm.
And I was doing it, but my other teammate said I was doing it wrong because she's like, oh, you have to do it more higher, this and that. So I was like, okay, fine. Like, do you want to like okay, then show me how to do it? And I was like, let her do it, I guess, not to like make a bigger problem over it, right? So it was just like blood dropping. So I was like, yeah, you do it. And she did it, just like just do it this way, and I just did it the way that she was doing it.
Okay. So again, I mean, and the happy end. What's the happy ending? Tell me the happy ending.
That we got it project done.
Got the project done. The other people, they saw the light that there was the right way to do it, and it was your way. You handled it rather diplomatically. There was no conflict or a minimal amount of conflict. Okay. I mean, just again, it's an example. Anything that you throw out there, I mean, it's something that you've lived. I mean, these are oftentimes things that are not unique in these questions. They're almost always things that you have dealt with previously. Are you going to encounter these questions? I just don't know. Okay, I just want to make sure that you guys have something to kind of lean on and to kind of be thinking about. Okay, situation, the task, or your role, the action you take, and then the happy outcome or result. Okay. Let's see. I guess this is even worse than having to deal with that. Okay. Here's the question for you. Tell me about a time that you failed.
Okay.
Okay. So you're automatically now all of a sudden being forced to talk about not happy things, but times that you failed. Now, everybody in one way, shape, or form has failed. Okay. Various degrees. There's grades, there's screwing things up, there's all sorts of things. Okay.
Okay, so this year actually,
Okay.
I didn't make the best choices.
Okay.
I decided to sleep through my first period for a few days.
Okay.
that led me to actually miss a lot of content. And in the end, I ended up missing so much content that I didn't quite understand how to figure out the equations that I was given. And I ended up having to work on my own to figure it out and not doing so well in the process.
Okay. So again, you want to, if you get asked about any sort of a negative situation, your goal is to ultimately get a positive spin on it. And you did that, but I'll mention a couple things specifically. Okay. I would definitely, I mean, when you throw out something negative, you just want to be able to be thinking about what could this potential employer be thinking about my negative. Again, they talked about the whole school attendance thing. I mean, just maybe temper your answer with something
I
like
can end
that.
it off with that's why I'm so fond of my attendance being great.
Okay, spin it good, spin it hard, make it work for you. Okay, being able to showcase that you are somebody that can not only learn from issues that you've encountered, but then going forward, you no longer have those sorts of failures based on it.